Good morning to a rather dark and rainy Monday morning, and we are now approaching the end of the course in pretty rapid fashion. We are in week 7, and week 7 has some very critical elements. Number one, its topic is very, very current and something that all businesses have to contend with, and it will only, I believe, gain in importance, and that is the idea of globalization and organizing to function in a global environment and global economy. This is, I think, something that's very important and something that's very apparent to most of us. Maybe sometimes we don't even consider the impact of it and the effects of it. And we have seen that very recently. And to see how things are affected and intertwined. Very interesting topic and something very important this week. So please give it your attention. And one thing I'm going to ask definitely that we do is make sure that you're looking at it, as I often suggest, from a big picture point of view. Make sure that you're looking at it in global terms, as the whole idea is. It's very easy sometimes when we see a problem or a situation just to focus on the facts at hand. But in this case, definitely we want to think just beyond the facts at hand. Maybe not just beyond, but quite a bit beyond, to see what the implications are for a business operating in today's environment. So it's very important. Also, looking back on week 6, you can see how week 6 actually built on stuff that had gone before. Week 6, you looked at a very small situation, where week 5, we were looking at a very large organization that failed to make decisions and failed to change. And here in week 6, we were asking you to look at an organization that had a chance to make some changes in much more real time and respond to a developing situation. And I'm finding it very interesting that people's reactions were what people's reactions were. But building on the comment I just made, many of us stuck with the idea, let me look at the problem at hand right here in this quick idea of, oh, I've got to change my habits in this retail store. I've got to have my employees engage and find out what the trends are and things like that. And we didn't really, in many cases, go into really big picture thinking. It's a very difficult thing to do. Most of us are very much more comfortable with what's in front of us, with what we know and what we know how to do. And to break out of that habit, it's something you're just going to have to keep working on and working on. I have to keep working on it. And I've been involved in the business and educational worlds for 45 years, and it's something I have to work on myself. The more important thing, I think, for many of you for week 7 is going to be the paper. Now, the paper that we're asking you to do is the big assignment for the course. It is worth 30% of your grade. And it is, I will use the word summary, it is an attempt for you to articulate the learning that you have achieved over the entire course to date. And to do that, we're asking you to do something that's maybe a little different than maybe you've done before. And it does deserve a little explanation. This is a summary paper, but what that means is it's not just a summary. It is creating a new academic work. It is creating an independent document that builds on the previous documents that you've created, but it does not copy the previous documents you've created. So the one thing you really have to make sure you're doing is avoiding that temptation of, well, I want to cover this topic. This is what I said about it in week 3. Let me just grab that section, plug it in, give it a little heading, and go with that. No, that actually is not proper academic writing practice. And I do reference it back in the video I think I posted in week 2 or so. Okay, that is just something that cannot and should not be done. But what you have to remember is, if you want to use your previous work, you have to treat yourself as though you've become your own source. So therefore, it requires paraphrasing, citation, reference. You become your own source. Yes, in effect, you can plagiarize yourself. And that's just an unfortunate accident. I know it sometimes doesn't make intuitive sense to people. After all, it's your work, right? How come I can't quote myself? But you have to do it a proper way. And if anybody has any questions, please contact me, and I will try to guide you through the situation. The other practical thing that I'm going to do within a few minutes of posting this video is I am going to go through the gradebook. And if there are any gaps in the gradebook where, say, an assignment is late and has not been submitted for grading, this is what I have to do. I am going to post a 0, a manually entered 0 in that blank place. What does that do? It lets you know exactly where you stand as if you didn't complete that work. So it's going to drop a couple people's grade down right away. Does this mean it's going to be your final grade? No. Does this mean I'm not going to accept the late work? No, not at all. I will accept the late work and I'm going to look at it. But it lets you know exactly where you stand. And that's very important because it'll give you an indication of how important this week 7 assignment is. And also the week 7 discussion board is important too. So remember, this is a discussion as usual, but the assignment has greater weight, and the assignment has unique characteristics as compared to the earlier ones. Keep that in mind as you're working on it and going forward this week. It's 30% of your grade. It's an important one, and ask questions if you have to. I'm going to be away for most of this latter half of this week and the early part of next. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be working on the course. It's okay. So it just may mean more than it gets checked once or twice a day instead of 3 or 4 or 5 times, which is my general habit. So please, that's why I say, if there's a question, ask it. I'll try to get to you. Might not be within an hour or two, might actually be overnight, but your questions will get answered, and I wish you the best of luck on this. It's something that's very important, and I just look forward to people doing the good job that you're all capable of and understanding the requirements. Okay, so that's it for this week. Very unique to this week. Thank you very much.